Let's call this meeting of the Rules Committee to order, if we could, please. Let's go around the table and identify ourselves for the record. Mike, would you start identifying yourself for the record?
Mike Abbott, City Manager.
Mark Spafford, General Manager, Solid Waste.
Okay. Maybe Forrest?
Forrest Dunbar.
Tim Steele.
Suzanne LaFrance.
Dave Training.
Eric Kraft.
Pete Peterson.
John Weddleton.
Felix Rivera.
Well, Mr. Rivera, this is your ordinance. You want to lead us through it, what it's supposed to do, what it costs, and what you hope the outcome will be?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. To start us off, we have 30 minutes, so Mr. Spafford will be doing a presentation that I'll sort of walk us through the ordinance, and then Carolyn Ramsey from Airport Heights Community Council will provide some input as well. So, Mr. Spafford, when you're ready.
Okay. I do have a presentation that we'll try to queue up here real quick.
Mr. Rivera, before we start this is not bear proof, it's bear resistant. Do we agree to that?
Yes, I think we can agree to that. Thank
Just
you.
remember, it's not a dump, it's a landfill. But while we're waiting for this to get queued up, I was just going to talk from the slides anyway. Basically, the role of our bear-resistant carts, thank you for the clarification, bear-resistant carts, is just another piece of the overall, basically with having residents manage their waste properly. That's the most important thing that we can do to keep bears out of trash. So that's keeping roll carts in garages or structures. That's not putting trash out on the curb until the morning of pickup. That's during fish season, freezing smelly waste before you put it in your roll cart. Don't leave pet food outside. Clean your barbecue grills. And then kind of the next piece of that is our bear-resistant roll carts. The other big piece, like Mike hit on real quick, was timeline. If we're going to, we don't stock, thousands of bear-resistant roll carts just because our demand hasn't been that great. And frankly, we don't have the room to store that many. And frankly, it's a large cost to order that many roll carts at one time. So what we've tried to do is make sure that the inventory we've had on hand matches what the customers have demand for. And so typically to start ordering bear-resistant roll carts, it can be a time-consuming or a lengthy process, not time-consuming. But it can vary on different factors such as what are priorities with the purchasing department, what are our internal priorities as far as preparing the specifications and getting the bid packages necessary to order those. Once we get the PO, after we complete our internal processes, it typically takes 8 to 12 weeks to get an order processed and delivered here to Anchorage. And then, of course, depending on the number of carts that are requested by customers, we have to allocate resources for staff to be able to go out and deliver those carts. So it can take some time, and what we don't want to get caught up in is not having enough bear carts to meet the demand of our customers, because that's kind of the last thing that we all get egg on our face because of that. So what we're trying to do is figure out or determine how many of our residents are going to want to enter into this program, so that way we can make sure that we order enough roll carts so that we have enough inventory available to meet whatever the customer demand is. So, and as you can see, the price difference between our typical roll cart and a bear-resistant roll cart is over twice of what it normally is, and that's for shipping. And that's just because they don't manufacture, as you can imagine, as many roll carts as they do, bear-resistant roll carts as they do typical roll carts, so there's additional cost there. There's, of course, a locking mechanism. There's steel that's associated with the lids and with the bodies themselves. There's also the fact that the shipping on the roll carts is not the same as the shipping with the typical roll carts. Because with the bear-resistant roll carts, you basically have to stack them in a truck, whereas with the typical carts, you can put them all in top of each other without the lids on, and so you can get a lot more in a smaller space. And so that all that contributes to that additional cost of over twice what it typically is for us to purchase one. For the Government Hill pilot program, I'm sure most people are aware of what happened there. But basically, the highlights of that were all fees were waived, and basically, we didn't have a bear cart rate structure in place like we do now, which is effective January 1st, by the way. So we had the same fees that were associated with our normal roll carts we charged customers during this pilot. We didn't charge for the cart delivery fees over the course of the pilot. We had pretty good public support from the community council. As far as outreach is concerned, we did it through Nextdoor, through the community council meetings. We also did it through social media as well as direct mailers. And with all of that outreach and all of the kind of publicity that was associated with the Government Hill bear issues, we had about 10% of the population in Government Hill actually participated in the bear-resistant cart program.
Mr. Dunbar has a question.
Yeah, just so I'm sure I understand, and I apologize, I was in Alaska Waste, so I haven't actually dealt personally with the SWS. So when you say the fees are waived, do you mean sort of in that initial startup fees, or does that mean that going forward their price is the same per year as a person with a non-bear resistant
In
cart?
Government Hill?
Yes.
So effective January 1st, there's going to be a $2 increase in their monthly service fee.
Okay, so that's I guess what I was getting at is why wouldn't you if it's free, it's going to be the exact same cost of time. Why wouldn't you get a bear-proof can? Why would only 10%, 90% say no or not do it? Is it because they know that next
Most
year
people
is slightly
don't
higher?
care about their garbage, and they don't change their, even if you tee it up and it's free, they don't think about it, and
But
they don't change it.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, sir, to
so my
continue.
point is that it's not actually free. Is that right? Because
It has been free. It is not going to be free. January 1, a couple of months ago, the Assembly passed an ordinance allowing us to collect
Yeah.
$2 more per month for a bear-resistant roll cart versus a non-bear-resistant roll cart. So up until now, and Government Hill is the only place in solid waste territory that has bear-resistant carts, it has been free. They didn't pay the $30 one-time swap-out fee, and they haven't paid the $2 a month bear-resistant surcharge.
Okay, and that's what we're talking about. So we're going to get rid of the $30 fee, but they might have realized it was free last year, but they can project into the future and know that eventually the price is going to go up. And everyone who opts into this program will pay $2 more per month.
Correct.
Is that all, sir?
And that's
Okay.
how SWS will recover the difference between $100 per cart
Right.
and $200 per cart.
Yep.
To continue?
Okay.
Sorry. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just happened to think of this. So do these bear-resistant carts last longer than the non-bear-resistant carts?
They have-
I mean, I
they
see
have-
they cost $220 versus $100. So if they lasted longer, maybe it's a good investment. I don't know. I'm just wondering.
They have the same warranty, right?
It's a 12-year warranty.
12 years. Okay.
Yes.
All right,
And
thanks.
keep in mind, we're only dealing with solid waste area. We're not dealing with all of Anchorage, because not all of Anchorage is on solid waste. Yes, John?
Well, it says here that this was a successful pilot program, and it looks like, is this saying only 10% of the people on Government Hill have bear-proof containers?
Correct.
Is that effective in any way? I mean, if those are the ones putting raw fish in, but in general, I'd say, has it been in it?
Well, I don't think, I guess we could say success from a couple of different points of view. One is from the operational standpoint, is we didn't have kind of the issue, because there's a locking mechanism that's on the bear-resistant cart itself. So actually the customer, instead of just rolling your roll cart out, you actually have to do another step and unlock the cart, because the automated side loaders have to come by and pick up the cart and dump it in with that. If the container's locked, then it's not gonna,
It won't dump.
empty by gravity, and then you have to have somebody get out and unlock it and do that. So from an operational standpoint, we didn't have many issues like that. But I think from the other standpoint is that we just didn't have the bear issues in 2016 that had occurred previously. And so I guess we can't really take credit for that, obviously. But in our opinions, that was a couple of big reasons for success of the program.
John,
So-
you?
So if you have one of these carts and you roll it out before you go to bed and stick it out on the street, you unlock.
You're supposed to roll it out in the morning, so you're not supposed to put it out overnight.
I'm saying, but this is the reality because you pick up at 6 a.m.
I know, I'm just trying to specify like May Day trees.
So it's out there all night, open. like everyone. So if someone stores their trash cans in their garage and it's a normal can, you're effectively the same place you are with someone who's got a bare one. It's out unlocked on the
Government Hill is a neighborhood, though, that has a lot of alleys. And probably the majority of the residential roll carts are stored in the alleys, not in garages or strongly secured spaces. So for 6.5 days a week, the garbage is, assuming the latching mechanism is being utilized, the garbage is in a resistant container. And then you're right, though, for half a day, ideally only a couple of hours, it is unlocked. And that's why Airport Heights, Rogers Park, and other alley-oriented neighborhoods are good candidates for these resistant carts. If you're going to put your stuff in the garage, I live on Government Hill. I don't have an alley. Mine goes in the garage. I don't have a bear-resistant cart because I don't need one because my garbage is in the garage all week, and then it gets rolled out, at 7:30, and it's only out there for an hour.
But just to follow.
Go ahead, John.
My understanding is these Alaska Waste in bare areas, like the hillside, they don't pick up till 8 a.m. so that people can put it out when they go to work, and that's what we're watching for, is shrinking that window. And if that's done, would that be more effective than doing these bear resistant?
If we waited until later in the day,
Well, I guess the goal is if people put their trash out in the morning, that would be more successful than having a bear resistant container, perhaps.
Unless
I
they
thought that
store
was
them in
the
an alley.
strategy. Unless they store it in an alley, yeah.
That is a benefit, and that's there is a compliance effort, not just by solid waste, but by a variety of other mechanisms to address people that put their garbage out the night or the day before. They're leaving town and they're gonna stick it out. They have a Saturday pickup and they're gonna put it out Friday morning instead of Saturday morning. Yeah, happens all the time.
Anything else, John,
No, good, thank you.
to continue?
and I guess we kind of just touched on it already, is we were thinking of some of the possible reasons for low participation. There's also a community dumpster that we had there for the past few years for residents to put their smelly waste in, and also the pending user fees, which at a community council, when we let them know it was only $2, it wasn't that big of a deal. But just kind of guesses for why the participation was so low. But also, what Mr. Abbott said is people just don't think about it. So.
Okay. Mr. Steele?
Has there been a lot of bear activity? I mean, I haven't seen any publication of bear activity up there.
There's been some this
since
summer. It's not as
yesterday.
bad as it was 2 summers ago when this program was initiated. And Monday, which is the residential pickup day on Government Hill, is the worst bear day.
So the bears can tell.
They
have a cell phone.
They're
So look at the
undoubtedly in the
calendar.
neighborhood, and when the garbage is on the street, life's a little better. But it's not nearly as bad as it was 2 summers ago when we had multiple families on the hill long term.
Yeah, and I just don't
Felix?
know. Did we have that many? Did we have any call-ins or?
Yes, there were roll carts knocked over, but not accessed several times this summer.
Mr. Rivera?
All right, thank you, Mr. Spafford. So, fast forward from 2016 to today, and I think as we all have noticed, there has been a spiked increase in human-bear interactions, and so I was approached by the Airport Heights Community Council regarding duplicating this pilot program that was quote-unquote successful. We can talk about that, but successful in Government Hill and duplicating that for Airport Heights and Rogers Park. initially Airport Heights, and then Rogers Park sort of wanted to get onto the bandwagon as well. So as Mr. Dunbar stated, this is an ordinance simply to waive the $30 service fee to exchange the current roll carts to the bear-resistant roll carts, and the program ends on or before June 30th, 2018. Just want to talk really quickly about sort of the evolution here. Initially, this was supposed to be for those two neighborhoods, which, as Mr. Abbott said, makes sense. They're good candidates for it. And then, sort of through the evolution of the process, we had talked about why not opening up this program to the entire SWS service area, and for folks that it did make sense to do this, they would choose to do so for the $2 nominal monthly fee. So that is the version that you see before you, is that version. If you look at the C, based on the Government Hill program, the C is showing a 30,000 revenue loss for SWS based on roughly 300 participants, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Abbott to talk about what he thinks the real projections would be.
Mr. Abbott?
If we went I say area-wide, that means service area-wide in this context. There's approximately 10,000 residential customers that the good sort of use. So if we got the same 10% participation rate, then we would expect roughly 1,000 people to switch over. That is probably beyond our capability to support in terms of buying the cans, getting them set up, and then delivering them in time. We'd like to get out in front of next bear season, which means basically getting this done no later than April of next year. And for a variety of purchasing and delivery issues, that'll be pretty tight. We think the limit of what we could responsibly get out on the street this year is a few hundred. So what Mr. Rivera and I spoke of comprehensively in 30 seconds 5-10 minutes ago was extending this only to Airport Heights and Rogers Park for the 2018 year, and then expanding it to the entire solid waste service area starting in 2019. That would give Mark and the solid waste staff a chance to gear up and be ready for this, and to make sure that our marketing gets this out there. Believe me, because there's a marginal increase in revenue, solid waste is interested in promoting this program. So we will be marketing it somewhat aggressively to try to get people to take advantage of it. Aside from the benefits to the urban wildlife interface issues, it's a chance for solid waste to at least marginally increase their revenue stream as well.
Okay. I'm going to Carolyn in just a second, but a question for you. What type of locks are these? Are they combination locks? Are they keyed locks? And what's the problem with ice in the winter and frost?
Well, I mean, it's
locking?
a mechanical lock, and basically what the user does is stick their finger and there's like a hole in there, and you unclick the lock and it unlocks it.
Any problem with freeze up in the wintertime?
We did have a couple instances last winter where we had with the freeze, the raining, and the freezing and thawing, where we had a couple of the locks that did freeze up, and we had to, I don't know if we went out there and helped them, or people just went out there with a blow dryer and dried it off and took care of it that way.
Thank you. Ms. Ramsey?
Sir, as a representative for Airport Heights Community Council, we are an old neighborhood. We've been around since the late 40s in some homes, all the way through the 60s. Most of us do not have garages. The ones that do have a garage, you can maybe get a Prius in on the compact size. They're not space available especially for the size roll carts that we have today. It's just not there. We did used to have alley pickup. Some houses do still have alley pickup where we do have some elderly residents, but most of us are now curbside. So there really is not a place to store the trash cans inside. This year I've been in Airport Heights almost 10 years now, and this year when I first approached Felix about this, we had 6 to 7 bear through the neighborhood already. We've had more come through lately. There was one the day before yesterday, another one this morning in somebody's backyard trying to knock over cans. So they are coming into our neighborhood more. Airport Heights, I won't read you the whole thing, but we are bordered by 3 creeks along our borders. So as I appreciate the fact that our creeks are cleaning up and that the salmon are returning to the streams, but that also means we have the bear coming back closer into where we're at as well. And we're a very forward-thinking neighborhood, and we'd like to get on top of a problem before it really becomes a problem. So this is why we came to the assembly to say, hey, we see what's going to happen in the future. We understand that a fed bear is a dead bear, and we don't want to contribute to that. We don't want to contribute to cost to the city, to Fish and Wildlife, and everybody else has to come out and deal with the bear that's now feeding out the trash cans, etc. So this was our way to try and be as proactive as we can to talk to the community, say, we're going to get Fish and Wildlife out, talk to the councils, roll out our own push throughout the community council to get everybody together, as many as we can, especially those that live along our green belts, to say, hey, here's an option for you to help keep the bears out of our area, and we'd like to pursue that. We also have Fire Island Bakery in our neighborhood. I did speak with them, and they asked, can we please have a bear-proof dumpster, especially since we have food waste. So if whatever we can do for them, we have multiple churches in the neighborhood, but especially Fire Island, they are very interested in getting on board too.
Carolyn, bear resistance, a term, not
Yes,
bear
sir.
proof. Nothing is. Question from assembly members. Mr. Dunbar, sir.
Thank you. My first question is, I represent, Mr. Peterson represents an area that is partially SWS and then a majority Alaska Waste. And the Alaska Waste portion, pushes up against the Chugach and J Bear, and there's a lot more bear interactions over there in those areas. So I was wondering if there's any way that you guys could partner with them when you purchase these. It sounds like, I don't know, maybe your proportions are too different, but is there any way to get economies of scale where you could purchase them together? Or, if one of you has too many and one of you orders too many and one of you orders too few, some way to work together on that?
We already purchased these through a competitively bid, joint purchase agreement. So we already get pretty good pricing on our own. It just so happens that Alaska Waste has just recently switched to the same types of cans that we have.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not quite sure about a purchase like that. I've never quite approached one in
Well,
that manner before, but
I would love if, as you do this, that there's a collaboration there, right? Because we don't want to have an SWS neighborhood have bear-proof cans, and then that sort of push, incentivize the bears to go and to another part of town, and go there instead. And it's all Anchorage, even though it is sort of a territory line. So, insofar as you could work as closely as possible with
Alaska Waste has a bear-resistant can program now, I think, right?
yes.
Yeah, they do.
But how they handle it is different than how we handle it. They have a different philosophy about where those carts need to be deployed versus people that want them.
Okay.
And so I obviously can't speak to that. That's just my understanding from my counterpart there about how they approach the deploying of their bear-resistant containers.
And then on
You got about 2 minutes.
Okay, very quickly. So Felix, this version of your ordinance is area-wide. So you're going to amend it then to put it back into these 2 neighborhoods?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be a clean version. Will be on the agenda to narrow the scope back down to what it was originally.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to comment, I support that approach, both because of the unique nature of these neighborhoods and because there are parts of SWS, I think you're going to get less than 10% buy-in. I mean, Government Hill is a comparatively sophisticated old neighborhood, as is Airport Heights. I think there are parts of the SWS service area would probably get even less buy-in.
Yeah, the mix of rental versus owned properties plays a big role in this.
And we do have the dumpsters over in Penland Park, because they don't have trash cans, so I'm not sure I don't know the bear-resistant dumpsters versus otherwise what that cost is comparatively, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. But they're not having quite the issue that we've got.
I've got 2 more people with questions. It's a great community council, by the way. Not that I'm any interest at all, but it's a great community council. Mr. Gates, and then Mr. Steele.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Spock, the C that we grant, it just considered the waiver of the $30 exchange fee. Should it also take into consideration the cost difference, 100 versus 220? 20. Does that cost these B and C as well?
I'm not sure if it needs to be in the C, but that cost difference is captured with the $2 extra a month. But I'm not sure if that needs to be in the C or not, so.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. We would not recommend a change for that. It's a capital acquisition, so it'll be amortized over the life of the carts. So it'll be handled inside our existing budget.
It was true my advice that this go to all as customers, not just MGs, but one of the suggestions I understood designate their rate areas where we could get the fee waiver. Interested in what works for SWS or even the designate, just turn it in. I'm sorry, Airport Heights Community Council, Marshallsport Community Council, those neighborhoods as areas they can receive the fee waiver. Exclusion of others.
I don't want to push this to somebody else. We're not in the business of defining a fair area. You know, that's more
Our area.
If somebody else, that's not our agency. Right.
It's the point that was saying, this neighborhood gets the waiver, but not the people across the street. That would still be avoidable, I guess.
That's up to the assembly. That's not up to the department.
Thank you, Dean. I've got one more person. Mr. Steele?
Is the $2 fee service area wide or just for those that have the can?
If you have a bear-resistant can in solid waste service area, you pay $2 a month, starting January.
Is there any administrative costs to having to change those out, or if it's tenants that have it or paying it and they move out, they say, come get the can? I'm just thinking about the administrative aspects of changing the
I don't think it's anything different than how we're operating now, so.
We have different sizes of cans
Yeah.
now, so
Yeah.
people change can type periodically, so this will be no
I'm
different.
paying for excess capacity. I was thinking of downgrading, but that's another story.
Talk to Alaska Waste.
Any other questions from assembly members? Any audience participation of any kind in this? Anyone want to comment on it? Seeing none, this work session is over with. Thank you very much for being here.